All right, so for our bobble heads, here is an example of a bobble head. And as you can see, the base of it is basically just a cone shape. How the feet and a tail are really close to the body. Here is the head. It is really just a glorified pinch pot. And we want to make sure the tip is pointy enough so that this will hang on here like so and still have that kind of wobble to it. I don't know how well you can see that, but it would fit like this. All right, so to get started, we are going to carefully remove the clay from the bag. It should still be moist. And you'll need your popsicle stick and you'll need a pencil. And if you have a little bit of water, that would be great also, but not necessarily something you have to have. So I'm going to start out by taking my clay and I'm going to use my popsicle stick and press down to cut it in half. Okay. And then from here, I am going to take, well, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit off the top, just like 2 finger widths off the top. This is going to be my base piece. This is going to be my cone. So I'm going to smush it into a ball. And I'm pressing it down. I'm compressing it just by moving it in my hands like this. You can roll a little bit, but sometimes rolling in your hands is not going to make really a ball shape. It makes kind of a top. It makes it pointy. Checking for any kinds of creases and cracks, and I'm going to take my finger and kind of smooth those out. All right, that seems pretty good. Because the clay is fresh, it should be really great. I'm going to gently roll this in my hands, back and forth, like this. And that's going to give me the start of a cylinder. And then I'm going to really be rolling the top, leaving the bottom hanging out of my hands like this because I want the bottom to stay the same. Just doing the top to create that cone shape. Okay, so here I have my cone shape. All right, maybe just a hair more. And I'm going to tap the bottom so that's going to ensure that it's nice and flat and it'll be a little bit more stable. Okay, so set that aside, that part is done. Now I need to make my pinch pot, and you're not going to need all of this clay. So I'm going to be taking a little bit off the top of this one also, about the same amount that I did there. And that's going to be a fairly big pinch pot. Maybe I'm going to take a little bit more off of there. I don't want my pinch pot to be so big that it's going to overwhelm my base. And I'm going to press it down into a ball again. You can do a little bit of rolling. This is what I mean. See how it gets kind of pointy on the ends if you just always roll in your hands. So modeling it back into more of a ball here. All right, now I have my ball of clay, and looking around, I don't really have any big cracks, so this clay is like perfect. From here, to make your pinch pot, I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to press it straight down inside my clay, like this. And then I tend to pick it up, but you can leave it here on the paper. When you're pressing with your fingers around the bottom edge here, not the middle and not the top. So my thumb goes back down all the way. My fingers are going to wrap around here to the bottom, down here. And I'm pressing my fingers and my thumb together. I go around one time. All right, and that's going to make the opening, which is called the mouth, already bigger. So be aware that that's going to happen. And then I'm going to come around a second time, but I'm going to be pressing here in the center. I never press the lip, the top, ever. it will naturally get thinner for me. I don't have to press it. All right, that's one more time around, and that was the middle, and here is my little pinch pot at this time. I do have some cracking here, so now is when I'm going to start to smooth this out with my finger. And the reason you have cracking is because you've just taken your clay and you've stretched it and you've used it, and it's completely normal for this to happen. So don't freak out if you see it. I'm actually sort of scraping with the back of my fingernail. You could use your tool, your popsicle stick. I'm sorry, this is actually a tongue depressor, if it makes a difference to you. I don't know if you care or not. Around here. And then I can, that was kind of roughly smoothing it, and now I can come back with my fingers. And I just want to sort of even up my edges. Okay. So here is my pot. My pinch pot is done. And since I'm going to turn it this way, through my pressing, I've made it flat. Can you see how flat that edge is? I don't want that, so I'm going to just sort of smoosh my edges so it's a little bit more rounded. Okay, there we go. Now from here, I have all this extra clay, and I can start to do some other things. So if I want ears, let's say I'm doing a bear, that's our school mascot, so that's always a good thing to do if you have no other ideas. So I want to hold this kind of close.
Let me check my focus here. We're not going to focus better?
No? Yes? Maybe? All right, so I'm just pinching the clay, what's already on there, on the top, and that's going to give me these little ears. So, and depending on how much clay you take, then indicates how big your ears are going to be. So there's one ear, and here's going to be my other ear. Now when you do that, you are going to end up with a little divot, a little dip in your clay here and here where you drag the clay. So be aware that that is going to happen. Okay, there we go. And then if you wanted to, I can take a pencil because I want to sort of show that inner ear part. I'm just going to press my pencil in there. And yeah, that does show up on the camera. That gives me sort of that inner ear look. You know, this would actually be good if you were doing like frog eyes too. Anyway, so there are my ears, and I just moved that around, my pencil around, to get the inside shape that I wanted. This is really looking like a frog. And now I want to take some extra clay and I want to add on the muzzle, so that's this part. Okay. So I just take a little bit of clay, I'm going to roll it in my hand. I'm going to tap it just a little bit so I get a flat side. I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to roughen up the surface with my pencil, so I just sort of scribbled on it. And then where I want to attach it, I'm going to do the same thing here. And then I'm going to press the two together. Now I am supporting the inside of my pot with my fingers inside here, so that as I press down, it's being supported and I don't collapse the whole thing. Okay. So here I have added something on, and then I can take my pencil, and the sharper your pencil is, the better the line will be. I'm going to just draw kind of the end of his nose, which is going to be kind of that triangle shape, and then down from there. Okay, so there I have my nose. For eyes, I'm going to just go ahead and push my pencil point in there, and there we go. If you want to give him some texture, just so he's a little bit more bear-like, that's fine. I can again use my pencil. Your pencil's turning out to be a really great tool, isn't it? And I can go ahead and add little tiny lines here. This is to show fur around. So I could do that to the whole top. All right, I'm going to set that aside. I'll finish that later, and I'm going to come back here to the base. I still have more clay, and I want to finish out the body. So I'm going to just roll a little tiny ball, and again, I am going to roughen the surface of where I want to attach it. I'm going to press and kind of twist a little bit together so those grooves kind of mesh together. At least that's what we're hoping, like that, and they lock in. Think of it as clay Velcro. All right, so there's his tail, and then I want to give him some front paws. So I'm going to, again, just, they're about the same size. Wow, this one's a little bigger. Make that a little smaller. There we go. All right, and the same kind of thing. Scratch, scratch. Where do I want it? Scratch here, scratch there. Sort of press and twist. Press and twist. Get that on there. There we go. All right, so here come the front feet. And then if you want to have any kind of claws or anything, you could, of course, add those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there are his claws around there. Okay, so super simple what we're going to do here. And again, any kind of texture on the body that you want to do is fine. If you want to smooth this out a little bit more, you can take your tool and smooth the edge of those feet onto the body. And this is really rough. So now I would want to take my finger and come back and smooth it. As you can see, I don't really need any water. I'm going to brush those crumbs off. You get clay crumbs all the time. Just brush them off. Make sure you get them into the trash can afterwards. You know, don't just brush them into a drawer or onto the floor or something. But if you were really having trouble smoothing something out, you could dip a finger in some water to help smooth it, but you really don't want to add a lot of water to this kind of clay. It makes it slimy. But there we go. When you let it dry, you want to let them dry side by side. And it's only after they are dry, and they take a little longer than you think, then you can put them on top, and they will sort of have that wiggly, as long as this is a point. And again, one last thing, remember, this isn't a teeny tiny point. If you make it too thin, it'll break off and it won't be able to support anything. So there you go. All right. So it's all going to be texture and drawing and adding a few things on here, keeping things really close. This is another one that I have done. And the tail did come out a little bit, but notice it doesn't go really far. This is a honey badger. And he's been glazed, so he was done with a different type of clay. But yeah, so have a lot of fun and best of luck.